imagine this many people would show up to hear me, let alone pay the money to hear me. So thank you for being here. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell about my long history with the Chamber. My firm, Wesco, was a member for over 25 years. I served as the chair of the Government Affairs Committee for several years. I was on the Chamber PAC for several years. And this chamber and many people in this room were very supportive and enthusiastic in my campaign, or part of my success becoming your mayor. So thank you for all your support. So they wanted me to talk about my impressions of being mayor, and sometimes I kind of pinch myself to say I'm really here. But everywhere I go now, everybody calls me mayor. So when you spend over $1 million on radio, TV, and direct mail, your name ID is going to go up. So I ran into this guy about a couple of weeks ago, and I was at the convenience store. I walk in, he's walking out, and he comes back in and does a double take. He goes, "Are you Mayor Brand?" I go, "Yeah." "You're Mayor Brand? What do I call you?" "Call me Lee." And I go out to people, everywhere I go, "I voted for you, I voted for you." I'm thinking, this was a pretty close election. There were like less than 3%. So I said, where do you live at?" "Clovis." But there was one honest person. At our council meeting a couple weeks ago, this guy comes up to me and he says, "I didn't vote for you, I should have voted for you, I will vote for you in the future." So I had one honest man. You know what his vocation was? He was a Catholic priest. So I started a transition team just after the election to get organized, and I tried to select a broad cross-section of this very diverse community. So I brought in a message to all the people who were on the other side during the election. It was a message of reconciliation, a message of unity. We're all in this together now. There's no longer two sides. And this transition committee had African-American clergy, had union members who for the most part did not support me. It had business people like Ruth Evans and people from the BIA, the Chamber of Commerce. And I was absolutely amazed at how effective this diverse group of people from totally different walks of life were in discussing and formulating major policy that I would look at. And I was so impressed by this group that this advisory commission, is now a permanent Mayor's Advisory Commission. Every major initiative I will bring forward will go by this commission. So this means in this wide diversity of 520,000 people, everyone in this community, I don't care where you come from, with your walk of life, are going to have an impact on how this city is governed. It's a very inclusive government. And I have a pretty ambitious agenda for 2017. And former Mayor Swearingen was absolutely wonderful in the transition and getting me up to speed and all the stuff that's going on. But she warned me, every other week you're going to get a new crisis. And well, she was totally right. I get a new crisis once a week that I have to deal with. But in between that, my first major test was the Rental Housing Improvement Act that was supported by the Chamber of Commerce. This was probably one of my most difficult legislative acts I had to do. I had to bring two diverse organizations, some tenant advocates in the apartment industry. And I was somehow able to pull them together with a lot of teamwork. And the City Council voted an historic vote a couple weeks ago to approve the Rental Housing Improvement Act that addresses a long-term, over 20 years, long-term problem of substandard housing in the city of Fresno. So again, thanks Chamber of Commerce for your support. It was a very tough victory. I also plan, you'll see in the next 3 or 4 weeks, to bring a Citizens Public Safety Advisory Committee to the council. This was originated last summer during the campaign when I saw all the turmoil in our country, all the divisiveness, the racial tension, that I felt Fresno needed to be preemptive, to get a group of people together that would help bring this community closer to the police department, to build up a bridge of trust, build accountability and transparency. And I think this is a big step for the city of Fresno, and it also ties into the implementation of community-based policing. This is going to be a long-term, 4-year process. It's going to change how the city of Fresno deals with its citizens, how it polices, but the end result is every neighborhood will be safer. There'll be less shootings, not only for citizens, but we have to look out for the interests of police officers who have been targets. So this is an ambitious project, but I intend to pursue this thing my entire 4 years. I'm also going to be doing some major economic development initiatives, and I'll come back and talk about those. My 8 years on the city council taught me the value of relationships. No matter how good of an idea I had on the 20 legislative acts, if I did not have at least 3 or 4 other council members supporting it, I would have gotten nowhere. So teamwork is really important in this business. My approach to being the mayor of Fresno is going to be, I think, unique. It's going to be one of the most inclusive administrations, I think, in the history of the city of Fresno. I'm going to start by having a totally different relationship with the council. Every major initiative that I bring forward, I will bring at least 1 or 2 council members from the inception to get their buy-in, and ultimately, when it's done, they'll get the credit. We'll share the credit to build up a closer relationship with the legislative body. And this has been my success for 8 years. And the power of collaboration is enormous. I had a historic meeting with Buddy Mendez and Brian Pacheco from the Fresno County Board of Supervisors. Now, it'd be, I guess, how about I describe the relationship between a county and a city? Not too good the last 25, 30 years. And it's both sides. There is a renaissance in our relationship. 4 of the 5 actually endorsed me, so that helps out too. But we're going to talk about things like public safety, animal control, planning, groundwater management, homelessness. There's a variety of issues. We're going to meet monthly. And for the first time, probably in 20 or 30 years, there's going to be a joint meeting between the City of Fresno City Council and the Fresno County Board of Supervisors. And that's a good news for the City of Fresno. I also need to work closely with my colleagues, the trustees from the State Center, Junior College, Fresno Unified, Clovis Unified, Central Unified. Major challenges in front of us. Right now we're looking for a new leadership at Fresno Unified. I guarantee I'll play a central role in making sure the City of Fresno is actively engaged in these organizations, that what happens at Fresno Unified has a direct nexus on the City of Fresno, so we have to be involved. And my biggest challenge, as you all know, is Washington, D.C. and the Republican administration, and Sacramento and a Democratic administration. So the city of Fresno is somewhere in between. I feel like I'm the captain of the Titanic trying to navigate between icebergs. Because my job, the oath I took is to protect and promote the city of Fresno. So I don't follow ideologies, I follow what is best for 520,000 people. So I'm making sure that we're eligible for money from the federal government. We're working closely with the state of California. By the way, the state of California, through the cap and trade funds, awarded Fresno $70 million, the single biggest grant in the city's history. So I want to make sure we keep good relationships with Sacramento.